You're listening to the Voices of the Vic podcast with Ben Aiton and Mike Duffy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Voices of the Vic with me, Mike Duffy. And yes, he's back for the first time since your daughter arrived. He's back. It's Ben Aiton. Ben, how the hell are you?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well, yeah. Very happy to have the arrival of my daughter in the world now. She's doing well. My partner, Kate's doing well. Took them 5-6 days to get home, which was absolutely horrible to be at home because obviously with the COVID thing, I couldn't go in and visit. So I was at home twiddling my thumbs and couldn't wait for them to get home. But they're finally here, and it feels good. They say about becoming a dad's like one of the best things that ever happened to you, and you kind of believe it, but until it actually happens, it truly is. It's an amazing experience. Thank you very much for all the kind messages that I've had, and thanks to James from Watford Way for stepping in last week. He did a tremendous job. So I've listened back to the podcast, and you did a brilliant job last week, guys.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you back, and as I'm sure most people saw yesterday, Isla enjoyed. Well, I don't know about enjoyed, but Isla watched her first Watford game with you yesterday, Ben, as we saw on Twitter.
She did.
I bet that sent her to sleep, didn't it?
I was going to say she didn't actually watch it. I got her geared up at 2:00. The team news came out. We put her in her sleep suit. I put her on me to start watching the build-up. 5 minutes later, she conked out. She didn't wake up until like 5 minutes before half-time, and then she went back to sleep. So, yeah, she's yet to watch her Watford appearance. But I think that's probably wise that she didn't watch yesterday, because there wasn't much to get excited about.
There wasn't, and obviously we're together to talk about that. It was a really odd game. Now, before we obviously usually start straight away by analysing the game that's just happened, but the thing I want to start on firstly this week is a signing that we made. So he went straight into the squad. James Garner coming in from Manchester United. Now, we've got a thing for loaning young players from Manchester United over the years.
Yeah, we've got a few, haven't we? I saw that Watford put out, I think when they announced it on Instagram, they said how many players that we've had. I didn't believe we had that many.
Yeah, well, off the top of my head, you got Foster, Cleverley, Drinkwater, Chris Eagles, Jimmy Davis, Danny Webber. They're the six that I can think of off the top of my
Thomas
head.
Kuszczak, the goalkeeper.
Kuszczak, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
So 7. And now James Garner becomes the 8th. From what we've seen and what we've heard on social media, I've been speaking to a couple of people as well that are Manchester United fans, and they truly believe that he is the next best thing. And I was speaking to a Manchester United fan yesterday, and he was actually surprised that we signed him on loan, because he actually thought that James Garner might be in and around the first team this season. So there's some good news coming out of the Manchester United camp surrounding him. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what he can do when he actually starts games, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. I think United have a lot of faith in him. You could see that last season. He had 7 Premier League appearances. I think there was probably majority with sub appearances, but he started in Europa League 3 times last year as well. So United aren't just going to throw people in if they don't trust them and don't think they've got the ability to perform for Manchester United. He was also Manchester United's under-23s Player of the Year. And that even started with Mason Greenwood even started the season with him, so I'm surprised he didn't end up getting it. So yeah, they've got a lot of faith for him. He's deep line playmaker, operates in front of a back four, consistently looks forward and dictates the tempo of the team. I think it's a good signing for Watford. I'm just happy it's another player through the door, because you can see Ivic hasn't got a lot of players to his disposal at the moment. I feel very sorry for him, but it's another player through the door. Very highly rated youngster. United fans seem to speak very highly of him, and I'm excited to see him play for Watford now. He did all right when he came on yesterday. I know we're going to touch on the game in a bit yesterday, but we've struggled with set pieces for a while. He looked very calm when he was taking his corners yesterday, and he was picking people out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the Watford shirt now. But with the signing of James Garner, I think it's going to add a different style of player to the squad, something that's a bit different. He's a bit different to the likes of Cleverley and Quinner and Chalobah. It's not. I don't think he's going to be like a possible replacement for Capoue, but it's something that maybe could fill the gap for Capoue. He's not going to be like the octopus legs that just going to like put his legs in front of the ball to try and stop it getting past him. He looks like he's going to be in the right position at the right time, and he's, like I said, he's going to dictate play, and I think we need that in the Championship, especially with us not having Will Hughes in the team at the moment, and that's what Hughes is going to be doing for us when he gets fit. And also, I think seeing the arrival of James Garner, I can see Dan Phillips possibly getting shipped out on loan now. He wasn't in the squad at all yesterday, and with Tom Deli Basharu coming back and Will Hughes coming back, I can't see Dan Phillips getting in looking in the Watford side now. He might get a sub appearance in the League Cup, but I think it's vital for him to go out online now to get that experience. But yeah, very happy with the James Garner signing.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Ben. I think he is the type of player that will add a different dimension to our game, which is ultimately what we're looking for. And he's not the same as your Quinner types, your Chalobah types, your Sema types. You know, he is a different style of player, and he's got a screamer in the locker as well. From what we've seen, that clip
what
that
a
you
goal.
Posted, I think it was against West Brom under 23s.
Yeah.
It looks like, but yeah, if you've not seen it, ladies and gents, head over to our Twitter.
About 25, 30 yards out, wasn't it?
It was,
top bins.
Yeah, he had no right to score from there whatsoever. But
he looks comfortable travelling with the ball at his feet, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he looks like a player that glides across the field. He doesn't, not much effort needed when he's got the ball, but whatever he does, he just oozes in class, it looks like.
Yeah, and I think you make a very good point about the Capoue comparison. He's not going to be sort of retrieving balls like Capoue can, because we know that Capoue can get everywhere. But in other senses, we might see a sort of Capoue-esque player in him, like with the pinging of the passes and picking people out. But obviously, interceptions, Capoue really is a king of them. So
this looks like it's an appointment of possibly Ivic as well. They've looked to see how Ivic has played at Maccabi Tel Aviv, and he likes having that deep line midfielder who likes to sit and like dictates play and springs balls apart across the pitch. I think it's a very good shrewd signing for Watford. Yeah,
well, hopefully, as you say, we will see him more in a yellow shirt, and he can put in some performances and maybe even score some goals like that one we put out on Twitter. But you mentioned about the squad and Ivic only having certain players to his disposal. We'll get straight into that, because again, not for the first time this season, and I say that obviously with only 2 league games in, but not for the first time this season has the team news raised a few eyebrows. So the team news yesterday was, and apologies the way that I'm reading it, I'm just reading it off what the graphic said. It was Foster and Ngakia, Wilmot, Cleverley, João Pedro, Ken Sema, Nathaniel Chalobah, Cathcart, Murray, Glenn Murray, that is, Domingos Quina, and Cabaselli, with Bachmann, Sierralta, Craig Dawson for the first time this season, James Garner, Passetto, Perica, and Sinclair all on the bench. So it was an interesting lineup when it was first announced, but as we've sort of touched on already, Ben, do you think that the only reason he's picking this sort of team is they're the only sort of players he's got at his disposal at the moment? We are going to need more enforcements coming in, and they sort of need to come in fast, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, like I touched upon, I feel so sorry for Ivic. He's came in, new manager. He's probably looked at the Watford squad before he joined, saw all these talented players we've got, And it was like, oh, yeah, I can get them promoted, no problem. And then he's actually came in and there's about 12 of them wanting to leave. We've got about another 10 who's injured. And he's got
Yeah,
loads of academy players that he's got to work with. But I think he likes the challenge, doesn't he? I think Watford Twitter kind of teased us a little bit this week, showing clips of Ismail
yeah.
Sarr during the week. And then everyone getting their hopes up, thinking that he was going to be in the squad or even start. I didn't like that from Watford. I'd rather them not show anything of Sarr. But yeah, Glenn Murray getting his first start. I was excited to see how he would do because he came off the bench at Middlesbrough. I don't think he featured at Oxford, did he?
Oxford.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. No.
So yeah, big opportunity for Murray yesterday. But yeah, the shock was no Ismail Sarr in that starting lineup.
Yeah, massively. And like you says, Watford, the Watford Twitter guy strikes again. He's sort of come back to bite us a couple of times with a few tweets, especially a couple of seasons ago. The one that sticks out in my mind is
The
does
European
nobody
one.
want to go to Europe? And I was like, bloody hell. So yeah, to show Ismail Sarr training all week, and then he's not even in the squad, I was very surprised. The one thing that I'm slightly looking forward to now, though, is if he comes back next week and what a game it would be for him to come back against. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed on that front he does. But yeah, this team, it's what we've got at the moment. And let's not forget as well, I'm seeing a lot of people, especially after the result, which we'll go into now, but I'm seeing a lot of people saying, like, we look poor and, we shouldn't be drawing against Sheffield Wednesday. We've played 2 league games so far. We yet to concede a goal, which is the first thing. So if this is sort of not Ivic's preferred team, they've kept 2 clean sheets in the league and a draw away from home against a Sheffield Wednesday team who are fighting for their lives because they're on minus 9 points before. I'll bloody take that. But let's talk about the first half. The first half couldn't have got off to a worse start for us, I don't think, other than the fact of they probably could have scored, probably should have scored. But we weren't at the races in the first half whatsoever, Ben, were we?
No, I struggled to get out of first gear yesterday in the first half. Very scrappy stuff from both sides. I think Sheffield Wednesday dominated the first half, really. They edged for chances. They didn't really have a clear-cut chance. They had a lot of half chances yesterday in the first half. I think Josh Windass ran through on goal as well and tried to. I think he came out today saying it was a Stonewall penalty that wasn't given, but I think he got the other side of Cabaselli and he was looking for a penalty because he knew Cabaselli was going to get to the ball, so that wasn't a penalty at all. But yeah, I kind of thought it was a slow, terrible start from Watford. They kept losing the ball. I thought our midfield was non-existent. We've got a lot of quality in midfield, but we've yet to see that yet. Chalobah, low par performances the last couple of games. Cleverly didn't do much. Quinner, I don't think they're putting Quinner in the best position at the moment. He's better in that number 10 role, and I think he's just out to ride that midfield 3 at the moment, which I don't think really suits him. And you can kind of see it. He's not having much influence in the performance. Because for the Spurs game, he played the number 10 role. He absolutely bossed that game, and he popped up with that goal as well, didn't he? But
he did.
Yeah, very slow first half. I think we only had one chance, and that was the Glenn Murray chance from outside the box. Hit it down the keeper's throat, and keeper fumbled, and Pedro got there, but I think he rushed it a bit. It's similar to the Oxford. I think that his eyes light up when it comes to him, and he's rushing it. He's too excited to get that first goal in English football, isn't he? And completely miscontrolled it, and it went into the stands. But luckily, the linesman's flag went up, so that saved him a bit of embarrassment, didn't it? But yeah, very poor first half, and I was glad it was half time.
Yeah, not the sort of start that we wanted us to have, and especially seeing how we were in pre-season, it was quite surprising to see us start so slowly. So a little bit disappointing, but we managed to get away with it. And again, like I've said, we didn't concede. So although it might have been poor, we're still not conceding, and that was our biggest problem last year. Was obviously defence, and for him to come in, it's almost as if he shored up the defence straight away. yes, okay, we were poor, but on the plus side, we still haven't conceded in league football. Now, I don't like saying stuff like that because we're only 2 games in, but it's still a good sign, and it's still a sign that Ivic has sort of put his stamp on things and made us better defensively. But just going back to that Josh Windass incident, he's actually put a tweet out yesterday after the game saying, first half today, brilliant. Should have been a few up and a Stonewall penalty. Second half, we would have lost a goal last season. Spirit is there for all to see. Points and clean sheet on the board. Now, that was never a penalty in a month for Sundays, so I don't know what he's seen. As you've said, it's just shoulder to shoulder. Cabaselli gets the better of him, and Cabaselli's stronger. But another thing about Cabaselli, which sort of unnerved me a little bit, is what he's come out and said on Twitter. And he said after the game yesterday, he's perhaps underestimated how physical the Championship is. Now, yes, we've just talked about the defence being a lot more, shored up. We've not conceded in league football yet. But does that worry you a little bit, Ben, that defenders are coming out and saying this sort of stuff?
It does a little bit. I think the English guys obviously know how tough the Championship is, and I think kind of fans have kind of forgotten how tough it is, though. And the overseas players, they haven't got a clue really. They just know about Premier League football because that's all what's shown overseas. So I think a lot of players have maybe underestimated how tough the Championship is, but it is going to take time to adapt for them, isn't it? To come down from the Premier League. But we've got enough in our squad to adapt. But yeah, it's not the kind of thing you want to say, but at least he's saying it 2 games in when we've got 2 clean sheets. We've got 4 points from 2 games. So he said it, but we haven't been losing the games. I would be more concerned if he said it and we've lost those games.
Yeah, and as you've just said there, Ben, the foreign lads don't know the sort of physicality of the Championship as much. But we have got defenders in those ranks that do know the division. Obviously, Wilmot had a brilliant loan spell last season at Swansea. You've got Craig Cathcart. He's been in the Championship. He's got vast experience in the Championship with us as well. And then you look to the bench, and Craig Dawson was on the bench. It was his first involvement this season. Another player that knows the Championship. So I think we do have that we do have that mix of sort of experienced Championship players and then good young defenders all round anyway. Because yes, we talk about how Cabaselli can be a bit of a liability from time to time, but on the whole, he is a good defender.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for his silly mistakes, I think he'd be perfect for us. So I think he would have played a lot more games last season, and for Watford as a whole, if he could just cut out these silly mistakes that he seems to have in him. So we do have that mix of Championship knowledge and then, just all-round good defenders. But as you said, I'm glad he said it now, so it can be addressed. He can get used to the physicality, and we've not conceded yet. So, yeah.
You wait till he comes up against Akinfenwa.
Oh, don't. Well, they got a pasting yesterday. I don't know if Akinfenwa's actually played yet, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah, and then the second half completely flipped it on its head. A bit like the Nigel Pearson start of second halves because he gave him a rocket. Much better. And we were lucky not to score. This is what's frustrating as a Watford fan. And I've just alluded to it there. Last season, we would come out the second half and we'd start. The first 10 minutes, we'd be brilliant. And we'd be like, oh, you have got it in you. Why don't you start like that? And it was a little bit like that yesterday. The second half, throughout the second half, we're a much better team and should have scored, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just going to read a quote out from Vladimir Ivic. He recognised the first half wasn't great either. He came out and said the first half was a waste of time for us, but the second half was much better. Sometimes you need to do something to wake up the team. They needed to react. I like that he's so honest. It's refreshing to hear. He's not tiptoeing around the situation. He's coming out and saying exactly what it is. And I think fans are really enjoying having Ivic at the club and relating to him. So for the manager to come out and say the first half was a waste of time, I think that's absolutely brilliant and spot on, because it wasn't great first half, but second half there was tempo, there was creativity. We looked like we wanted to win the game. First half, we looked like we were still on the coach. But yes, second half, we looked much better. creating chances. Could have scored. We had a couple of really good chances with what's his name? Parisa.
Pericha, I think
Yeah,
we're not the best at announcing these foreign
yeah.
lads' names, but we'll give it a good stab.
We'll get
Pericha, yeah, we'll go with that.
Parisia. Cleverly had a good chance 1-on-1 as well. Cabaselli just put one over from a 6-yard box, I think, under pressure from a
Yes,
keeper. I thought that was in when it happened as well. I jumped up.
we somehow got a corner out of that as well. I don't
Yes,
know how, but yeah. But as you've said, you've highlighted a few chances there, and we could have put the game to bed. Little bit annoying that we didn't sort of have that finishing touch, which again was a massive problem of ours last season, scoring goals. But it is good, and it is refreshing to hear Ivic come out and say that. A lot of managers would have probably just brushed over it or sort of swept it under the carpet. But Ivic knows what we need to do, and Ivic knows that if it's not good enough, he's telling you. And he's not the only one that's come out recently as well and sort of talked about the seriousness of it, because we did have a lot of passengers last season. Just want to pick up on something Ngaki has said earlier in the week to Watford's website. Says we can't have players who don't want to be here. We don't want players treating training as a joke, as that is not good for the environment. Everyone is working hard. The coach is an honest man, as we've seen in that piece that Ben's just read out, and he wants to get the best out of every player. Now, it's like complete opposites of where this club was last season. Like, we just didn't. There was just no communication from anyone last season towards the end. Like, even Troy wasn't coming out. It was Will Hughes that was coming out, and it was the same old stuff. But this season, everybody knows their jobs, and the group of players that we've got, they're here for they're committing themselves, which is bloody refreshing to hear. Do you agree, Ben?
yeah, totally. And it's not just the players as well. We're hearing from the owners and Scott Dutchbury's now as well. I think when we signed, was it Joe Garner or we signed another player last week? He's coming out and saying that we're trying to find the right players for Ivic now, and we just needed communication from the top to the bottom, didn't we? And it's very, very refreshing for a young lad like Nakakia to come out and say things like that. It must be so obvious when you go into training and you've got all these players that are there probably sitting around the table, and you can tell they don't want to be there, and it's not a great environment to be around. But I think Ivic is setting a good environment for the players who do want to be there, and they're enjoying their time at the club.
Absolutely. So, on a whole, the Sheffield Wednesday game, yes, we would have liked the 3 points, but I think a point away from home, Sheffield Wednesday is always a tough place to go. We'll take that, won't we, Ben? Like I said, there's a lot of people on Twitter that aren't happy and are moaning, but they've got to realise that it's a away game against the Sheffield Wednesday side, and this Sheffield Wednesday side, will probably be fighting like no other team because of their points deficit.
Yeah, you got to realise that we're not going to win every game this season. We've played 2 now, conceded none. Okay, we've only scored one goal from Craig Cathcart, but we're unbeaten in the league still. We look like we're not going to concede at the moment. We're only giving away half chances for them. There's no clear-cut chances for the opposition to score. You've got to remember, we've got a new manager. We're under transition still. He's still getting his style of play out to the players. I think it's going all right so far. Let's see how we are at the end of the transfer windows, because there's going to be a lot of ins and outs still happening with the club. Positives to take out of the 2 performances that we've had so far. Let's not look at the negatives, because I don't think there was too many negatives. First half was maybe a bit under par, and we didn't score. But look, we've actually moved up the table. I think I've seen we were 12th and we've up to 10th, so we're moving in the right direction. Let's find those positives.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the transfer window, because I think this team, we're going to start seeing how Ivic wants to play, and we're going to start seeing, the style of play that Ivic wants. I mean, we saw a glimpse of it yesterday when Chalobah settled Paritza, who was denied by a brilliant save from Dawson in the Sheffield Wednesday goal. That link-up play between Chalobah and João Pedro was brilliant. And we saw that. We've seen it in games. We saw little clips of it in the pre-season game against Scunthorpe. We saw the play against Tottenham in pre-season. And we have to understand, fans have to understand that this Ivic team that he wants to build and he wants to play this football will only work if he has his players in. Yeah. And we're not at the end of the transfer window yet. Let's start judging it, as Ben just said, once the transfer window's done and once there's more players in that Ivic wants. We've got a new sporting director as well, as we know about. So hopefully Giraldi's not as, I've not seen him in any of the sort of images on the touchline like he was last season. So he has sort of had his role stripped back. Let's see what this new sporting director knows. Let's see how closely he's working with Ivic. I'm sure Ivic isn't afraid to put across what type of player he wants. So yeah, let's judge it once the transfer window's closed. Give it a few weeks then, and then I'm sure we'll start seeing that style of play that we'll want at Watford. But so far, so good. And hopefully we can take that into next week's little game, the small matter of Luton Town at home, which is going to be a very, very interesting game, which we'll touch upon just on the back of this episode. Talking of a few ins and outs, Ben, we had a period where it was really quiet on the front of transfers, like ins and outs, but we've actually got a whole list to talk about now. I think the best place to start would be departures in terms of we've seen one leave so far. And when that graphic come out of our squad numbers, all non-Watford fans were like, oh my God, look at that squad list. They are going to walk the league. What these non-Watford fans didn't realise was we're expecting about 9 or 10 of those players to go. One of those has already gone, and that's the form of Estupinan. He's joined Villarreal for 15 million. And Ben, I want to pick up on something that you put out on the Twitter. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and we've sold him for 15 million, and he's never played for us. Yes, I'm sure you're gutted, as I'm sure you're about to tell me, but how much of good business is this from the Pozzos again?
The Pozzos are striked again, really. I think we're going to see many more of these kind of deals happening. They're not stupid. They have a massive pool of players. They send them out on loan, get experience. If it don't come off, it don't matter because they've not really spent any money on them. But if it does come off, they make a lot of money from it. It's a shame we didn't really see him get to perform in a Watford shirt. But you got to realise we're not in the Premier League anymore. We're not getting the Premier League revenue. We've still got probably some Premier League wages in the squad. So we need to get that down. There's no revenue coming through the doors because games are behind closed doors. The pandemic is a massive factor at the moment. So £15 million for a player who's never had a competitive appearance for Watford is bloody brilliant and just what we needed right now.
Yeah, I think we will miss him. I saw a stat out there whereby last season in La Liga, Estupinan created the most chances, I believe, and in his position, and the only player that was close to him was that Reguilon, the chap that's just joined Tottenham with Gareth Bale. He was the only one that was close to Estupinan, or he was the only one that created more. He was very close. So that sort of speaks volumes if a club like Tottenham are going for a similar sort of player. But yeah, it is gutting that we'll never see him play competitive football in a Watford shirt.
Yeah.
But I think the things that you've just listed off there, no Premier League football is the biggie for me. I think that's what he wants. And if he wants to do that, then I'm seeing a lot of people saying good riddance and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of that. No. The guy, he's been a Watford player for God knows how long because the Pozzos do this. So, we've got players that have been officially contracted to Watford for years, but you don't realise because they never played for us. But he's got a move, and the money, I'm sure, will go straight into the transfer pot for bringing players in.
I imagine so.
I wish him the best of luck at Villarreal. they've got a good player in him, and I'll keep a close eye on his performances.
Yeah,
I wish him the very best.
The reality is we needed to sell some players in this squad,
Yes.
and between him and Decore, that's about 37 million. I don't imagine we're going to put 37 million in the transfer kitty because we need to cut costs. But even if we put a small chunk of that, it's going to help out. I'd probably like us to go for someone like Ryan Manning at QPR for left back. He used to play in midfield, and then he ended up being pushed out to left back when they had a lot of injuries and suspension, and he's done a fantastic job for them. And he was probably one of the better players in the Championship last season. And it's also worth noting he's 24 and in the last year of his contract, so I don't think you'd be spending much money on him.
No, and he's a name that has come up a lot on social media, and I would very much welcome him into the side. Another player that's been linked with a move away from Watford is no other than Ismail Assar. He's been linked with a move to Liverpool and a link to various clubs, actually, but it's mainly Liverpool that seem to have been sniffing around. I believe there was a bid made in the region of about 25 million, Ben. I think that's what you sent me.
Yeah, I believe there was initial contact between the two clubs, 25 million plus add-ons. We believe that Liverpool were asking for Ismail Sarr, which is well below what the Pozzos wanted. Watford's valuation of Sarr was 40 million, rising to 50 plus million. This would have gone past for what we did for Richarlison, what we sold him for. Richarlison was a lot less for that. Liverpool seemed to think this was too expensive, so they switched their attentions to Diogo Jota at Wolves and signed him yesterday for 45 million. Which, don't get me wrong, Diogo Jota is a great player, but Liverpool were raising their eyebrows about spending 40 to 50 million on Ismail Sarr, but yeah, they went on to spend 45 million on Jota. But yeah, it doesn't really matter really now, does it? Because Ismail Sarr's still a Watford player, and I'm absolutely delighted about that.
Yeah. I also, on a side note, I think 45 million for Jota is absolutely crazy, but he is a good player, but 45 million, really? And it is odds that they sort of turned their nose up at our valuation, yet they went and spent a similar fee of what I believe we would have been asking for Sarr, as you said. It is hard, but hey ho, they didn't. He's still a Watford player, as I say, and fingers crossed the admin will lay off tweeting about him and we might actually see him in the lineup against Luton. Now, that would be fantastic if he came back, and also Troy Deeney. Now, I know a lot of players will probably be moaning as soon as I've said that, but these are the type of games that Troy would be up for. And if he's putting himself in the shop window, what better way to sign off for Watford than come back and score against Luton, beat Luton? So on the flip side for him, Premier League teams will see his performance and think, oh, okay, then there's a player, we'll go and get him. So fingers crossed. I know I'm probably thinking way ahead of myself here, but you know, a man can dream. But yeah, hopefully we see Sarr in the lineup. Another gentleman that's been linked with a move away from Watford is Craig Dawson. Now, I mentioned earlier that we saw him for the first time in the lineup yesterday, as we're recording this on Sunday against Sheffield Wednesday. He was apparently out due to illness from the first game. If you believe Twitter, then you'll think that's a load of rubbish, but then Twitter is also a load of rubbish from time to time as well. So there are rumours floating around that Dawson didn't want to play and refused to play. But I like to think that Ivic is actually straight talking enough where he'd actually agree to that, because the Estupinan deal hadn't gone through yet, and he sort of talked about getting a replacement in for Estupinan. So he's not afraid to do the usual media trained answer by we won't talk about them because they're off or they might be off. I'd like to think that Ivic would turn around and say, yeah, there's been a problem with Dawson, but it sounds like he actually was sick, so he's come back into the squad. But he's been linked with a move away to, firstly, Burnley, but I believe Burnley would go in for him only on the basis if they sold Tarkowski to West Ham, and they've had 2 bids knocked back, because we talk about crazy transfer fees. Burnley want £50 million for Tarkowski. He's a good defender, but 50 million? Do me a favour. And then Fulham are interested in Dawson, but I believe it's only on loan, Ben. Is that what you've read as well?
Yeah, that was through the Athletic. Adam Leventhal retweeted one of his colleagues who's a Fulham correspondent, and he actually put up saying that Fulham were looking at Craig Dawson for a season on loan deal. So not too sure where we stand with that, if that's progressing or anything, or if there's no truth in it at all. So that's just one to watch, really.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm sort of starting to see more and more hate towards Dawson. I think he'd be brilliant for this league. I've spoke about it at length in previous podcasts. I do think he was harshly criticised, considering when we returned to football after the pandemic, he was probably our best player in terms of goal threat. And I think he'd suit the Championship down to a T. I wouldn't blame him if he does want to play in the Premier League, but the hate that I'm seeing him get on social media is starting to do my head in a little bit. He's a lot better player than fans are suggesting. I don't know what your stance on it is, Ben.
I think people look into Twitter too much. One person comes out and says, "Oh, he's refused to play. He doesn't want to play for a club." Everyone jumps onto that because there's lots of likes and retweets. Because it's all about likes and retweets nowadays, isn't it? With social media, if it got over like 10 likes, it must be true. So yeah, I think he would be great in a Championship. I think he could do a job for us. My worry is, where does he fit in? Because I wouldn't take Cathcart out of the side. At the start of the season, I probably would have played Dawson over Cathcart, but Cathcart he hasn't put a foot wrong so far, so I wouldn't kick out Cathcart. Cav he's slow starting in matches. He looked shaky yesterday, but warmed into the game. It was probably one of our better performers yesterday. Wilmot, a lot of potential there. He's going to get better with each game going. So I don't see where Dawson's possibly going to fit into this side. And we're going to touch upon quickly now about another possible arrival with Watford.
We are. Yes, we are indeed.
See how I linked that one up? I've listened to what you did a few weeks ago. Yeah, there you
go. Now you've sort of thrown me under the bus, because I had a nightmare trying to pronounce his name over voice note to Ben before we started recording. We believe that William Troost E. Kong is going to be joining from Udinese on a 5-year deal, which I don't know what it is with sort of Twitter admins for Popsalone's teams, but it wasn't long ago that they tweeted a picture of Troost Itong, with his thumbs up, smiling in an Udinese shirt, almost looking like he's going to be staying. And now we believe that he's had a farewell dinner with his Udinese teammates, and he'll be joining the Hornets on a 5-year deal. And Ben, you've done a little bit of research. What have you got on him for those Watford fans that might not know much about him?
So William Troost Econ, he's a 27-year-old. He was born in the Netherlands and played for their under 19s and 21s before swapping to represent Nigeria, because I believe one of his parents is Nigerian. He's 6'3" centre back. He's right-footed. I know that won't really solve our left-footed centre back problem, because we're playing Wilmot on that left-hand side at the moment. He's right-footed, so it's not really going to sort that problem out. He's played 65 times for Indonesia in the last 2 seasons, so he's a consistent starter for them, one of their main defenders. He's got 42 appearances for Nigeria. He played for Nigeria in the Africa Cup of Nations in 2019, where they came third. And yeah, he's signing a 5-year deal with Watford, which looks to me that they see him as a main part of this Watford defence, because we signed Ciaretti, didn't we, from Indonesia? I don't believe that was a 5-year deal. Do you remember what that was? Was that a 2-year deal, possibly?
I believe it was a 2-year deal.
Yeah, William Troost Econ is a much better and reliable defender than Ciaretti. So yeah, there's a lot of hype about him, and he could be someone who could come into the Watford side and do very, very well. He looks comfortable on the ball as well. I've just seen a quick video of him before we came on air, and his passing is like his pinpoint accuracy, and it's refreshing to see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. Everything that I've just read off, it looks like he could possibly fit the bill and come in, because we have from that very like commanding centre backs in the Watford defence for many, many years, and this looks like he could be someone who fits the bill, really.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit, and I think I know it's probably quite an obvious answer, but when he does come in, who are you taking out of that centre-back partnership?
I wouldn't take anyone out yet because 2 clean sheets and 2 league games. No one really deserves to be dropped out of that. I would bring him in and put him on a bench. But who would he eventually look to replace? I'd probably say Cabaselli. Cabaselli, we've touched upon, he's a bit of a liability at times. He has to warm into games. He's a very slow starter until he gets up to pace with it. And then he's quite solid afterwards. But I think that could cost us going forward because the championships, like he was saying, he was shocked with how competitive and tough it is in the championships. We don't really need that at the moment. So, wouldn't take him out as of yet, but it's one to watch. I'd probably put him in the middle of the back three and then have Cathcart to the right of him and Wilmot to the left of him.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, it was probably a bit of an obvious answer that was going to come out there, but I thought he might surprise me. But I'd imagine it would be Cabaselli. Cathcart has done brilliant. I didn't think as well, like you touched on, that at the start of the season, I didn't think Cathcart would be playing. I
thought they would have looked to move him on. Considering his age as well, we didn't really feature towards the end of the season. It looked like Pearson didn't really favour him. He's hit the ground running. He's done really well. I've been impressed with him. But I'm saying that he might look to replace Cabaselli, but Cabaselli's got more legs on him than Cathcart. I imagine if Cathcart makes maybe a couple of errors, he might look to William Truce-Ekong might come in to replace Cathcart, and then you've got Cabaselli on the right of the three. So he's not going to come in for Wilmot, so it would be one of those two, but I would probably edge toward Cabaselli at the moment.
I would imagine so. That's in terms of incomings, other than the usual Twitter rumours that you see floating about, nothing other than that. The William Truce-Ekong one is probably the one that's more than likely to happen. It sort of died down in the Matt Grimes region, and I think James Garner coming in will have sort of taken that position that I think that Matty Grimes would have come in and filled. So, it is still a little bit quiet on the transfer incomings. What will be interesting to see is that Truce-Ekong will actually be signing a permanent deal, which again frees up more space for us to bring in 4 loan players. Now, whether all 4 come from Udinese, I don't know. But it is interesting to see because I thought he might be on a loan. And the question's still out there whether we'll see Fernando Forestieri return, especially if Luis Suarez goes and especially if Troy goes and Andre Gray's still not fit. So we might need some forward cover. But I think Perizza's going to actually do really well. I do like the look of him. So I think he'll feature a lot more than people think. In terms of incomings and outgoings, it's been a little bit busier this week and it's picked up a little bit. Hopefully the next time that we do speak to you guys, we'll have a little bit more news, and I'm sure in true Voices of the Vic fashion, we'll put this podcast out and then 2 minutes later they'll announce Truce-Ekong. I'm interested to see how he's going to fit into the side.
It'll be good to get him through the door, won't it? Because we've got a Tuesday night away fixture at Newport County, so possibly get him in, maybe give him some minutes Tuesday night. Maybe we might see Ismail Sarr feature, we might even see Troy Deeney feature. It's probably a good time to get someone in through the door. We'll probably see James Garner start. And then we've got that big M1 derby on Saturday. You won't catch me saying their name. I'll never say their name. Just like
I felt a bit bad.
I know, like we said before, we don't want to get one of their fans on, so we'll just keep saying it's the M1 derby. We don't want to give them any credit; they don't really deserve it. I do see that they're above us in the table at the moment, but it's not going to last long when we beat them on Saturday.
Whoa! Come on, oh mate, what have you done? What have you done? If we lose on Saturday now, guys, blame Ben.
I don't see us conceding. I think we'll be.
Jesus Christ! Okay.
Will we end this podcast now?
I think we better. As Ben pointed out, we have got a cup game before that. It is this Tuesday, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, Tuesday.
I've not got my weeks mixed up.
Yep, Tuesday away to Newport County. Big task for us, won't it? Probably see a lot of fringe players. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff again, so it'll probably be live on the Hornets Hive if people haven't got it. I think it's like £10 a game, isn't it? So it's a good chance to get to watch the boys.
Yeah, and me and Ben have been speaking, and we'll put something out on Twitter about this. But firstly, we're going to try and speak to a Newport fan, a bit like we did with an Oxford fan, and we'll put the questions and answers on the Twitter and Instagram like we did with the Oxford fan. And also a new feature that we're going to be looking at doing as well. Like I said, we'll put something more concrete out over the next few days. With these games coming thick and fast, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, whatever it might be, we obviously don't want to be putting podcasts out for every pre-match, for every post-match, especially with the long run that we've got. So we are looking at maybe doing Instagram Live to react to the midweek games. So me and Ben will talk behind the scenes, and then we'll announce whether that is something that we'll be doing for the Newport game, as I did for the Oxford game. So we'll see. Keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, it's been great having you back, Ben. Do you know what? It's actually felt like ages since we spoke football. I think it's literally only been 2 weeks, but it's good to have you back nonetheless. And I'm glad that all the family are doing well. We hope that you guys that listen are staying safe as well, as it looks like an inevitable second wave is on the way, but we won't go into that. And yeah, fingers crossed, a good result on Tuesday and another Dan Backman super game. And then the big M1 derby on Saturday, which, me and Ben will hopefully, after what Ben has just said, be coming in off the back of a win. So that will probably be the best podcast we'll ever do, because that will be brilliant. But yeah, thanks a lot for listening as usual, guys. We will be back with you after the Luton game. And yeah, stay safe and take care, guys.